Hey everybody, how's it going today? Today I'm making a video to show something that Nintendo has done recently, as of today as a matter of fact, and I think it goes to show how far Nintendo goes to not only make sure that their IPs are not messed around with, but that want to kill almost all the fan projects there are out there. But let's go ahead and get into today's story. So Nintendo shuts down Super Smash Bros. Tournament for using mods to play online. So the TLDR of this, if you want to read the whole article, I'll leave the link down below in the description. But basically, if you look at the last Smash Bros. Games that were released, Melee, Brawl, Smash 4, and Ultimate, you'll see that Melee is missing something that the rest of the Smash Bros. Have, and that is online play. And but Nima, why are you making such a big deal of the Melee one not having online play? Well, it's actually the most it's actually the most popular Smash Bros. Of all. You know, you go anywhere and there's a universal love for Melee. I'm okay. But I do sometimes see a lot of the plays that they do at Evo and local tournaments and all that, and it's just something that I like to watch. Well, because of Nintendo's stance on online play in the early 2000s, they left online play out of the GameCube almost entirely, at least in the West. And the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox both had online capabilities. The Xbox had the built-in modem, the PS2 had a broadband adapter that you'd plug into the back and go to the internet that way. But Nintendo did have online, but only in Japan. And if I remember off the top of my head, I think that was for Phantasy Star, and that's where you see the big GameCube meme controller, and that was a real thing. You can Google it. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can show you here. See, here it is. It looks like a meme. It looks like a fake aftermarket controller, but this is a real thing. Anyways, let's get down to the story today. So the way that you would add online functionality to Melee is, one, either rewrite the game disk and data, or two, that's where you start getting into something that people sometimes call emulators. So emulators will let you play or do something on something else, such as, for example, some of you might even be doing it right now. It's emulating Windows inside of Mac, machine virtualization or virtual machine, but you know, some call it emulating as well. You could also say it's one machine imitating another machine. So, for example, in the gaming cases, the most popular option that some of you even know me from my videos, you can play Super Nintendo games on the Wii or play Game Boy Advance games on the PSP, and those games are run through emulators. So basically, the PSP is pretending to be a Super Nintendo or a Game Boy Advance so that it could play this game that was meant for another system. So emulators are a grayish area. Other people say that it just condones straight piracy. You know, somebody can just download something, not buy it, and it hurts the company, which to a degree, I understand that. Some people see it as preservation, you know, preserving history, like writing books or making documentaries. and the third option, like me, it's something that I like to do. I just like to see what something can do. I used to play emulators on my phone and thought that I would get a controller case and that I would like it, but over the time I found out that that wasn't my ideal way of gaming, and I soon realized that I probably would have wanted to have another device straight for gaming. But some people like to have everything all in one package, and I understand, to each their own, I guess. And the cool thing about some of these emulators is that they added some cool capabilities, one of them being online play. What do you mean online play? So, for example, back in the day, going back to the Melee days as our example, to play with somebody, you either had to play with the computer, which over time just got boring. You'd have to invite a friend over or play with your siblings, or some of you even play with your parents. Since an emulator is kind of basically a program being built, that means features can be added, deleted, and sometimes even add stuff that wasn't there in the original hardware, you know? And in some of these cases, they add something called Netplay to the emulators. And the Netplay is kind of what it says. You can play with somebody over the net. I think it's a cool way to be able to play with different people in different parts of the world as if they're really right next to you. So for example, let's say that you want to fire Smash Bros. So you'd run the Smash Bros ISO, and you would run that or open it with a emulator program. And basically the emulator program would run like the GameCube, and the ISO is like you putting the disc into it. And since this emulator was made by other people, they can add or take off any features that they want the emulator to have. And like I just said, one of the things they added to the emulator is Netplay, that you could play with people over the internet. The emulator mimics the player 2 being right next to you, but it's over the internet. But I think it's really cool that all these things have gone this far to where you are able to safely, with this pandemic, play with somebody else across the world, and it'll be just as if it were right next to you. Now, today's story. Today, Nintendo sent out a cease and desist letter to the Big House. And the Big House was going to host a Smash Bros tournament. No, not a physical tournament where you can go and compete with people right next to them, but it was going to use a emulator or a program called Slippy in order to host this tournament and make this happen over the internet. And Nintendo sent them a cease and desist letter, and I'm going to go ahead and read part of the announcement that Big House made. The Big House is broken to share that we've received a cease and desist from Nintendo of America, Inc. to cancel our upcoming online event. We were informed that we do not have permission to host or broadcast the event, primarily due to the usage of Slippy. And then they talk about the refunds down there for people. But now I haven't looked into Slippy specifically, but most of these emulators, in order to circumvent legal stuff, are made with complete code that is not from Nintendo at all, not using any other special code or anything, so that they are able to be distributed and be legal for everybody to use without fear of getting sued or getting taken down. And this is something Nintendo has done a lot of. They've taken down a lot of projects solely for using their IP. I guess you could say to an extent that they really don't have permission to broadcast or host the event. I mean, they were specifically playing Smash Bros. Melee, and they were going to broadcast it. Again, Nintendo doesn't like playing with their IPs, and unless it's them doing it, they probably won't let broadcast it in any way. But real quick before we end this video, I'm going to go over some of the other projects that Nintendo has taken down. And one of them recently that I've heard was the Super Mario 64 Unreal Engine project, that they took that down. And this is a game that's over 20 years old, but if you could see here, ladies and gentlemen, that is a reflection of Mario on the metal Mario cap. And you can imagine how nice that would look actually playing it. I don't have a capable system yet, but when I do, and if I'm able to compile the code, then you might see a gameplay on this channel. But Nintendo took this down, and then you know what they gave us? Mario All-Stars being emulated, and not in widescreen, and not even 60 FPS. They stuck with a 30. They stuck with the lower resolution. And a lot of people were upset about that, but that's just Nintendo being Nintendo. Another famous one that I used to do back in the day when I played more Smash Bros. Was some of you may remember Project M. Project M was basically, if you remember what I said that Brawl had mixed reviews, it's basically because going from Melee to Brawl was like going from a Cadillac down to a Fiat car or a Chevy car, you know? You got that luxury, nice, good car, and then you're down to like one of the worst games in the series, they say. So a team of people decided to start trying to fix Falco, because Falco from Melee was very different in Brawl. And then it kind of just started, the snowball started going from there, and they completely redesigned Brawl to the point where it was more fast paced. The characters had better frame data. They didn't trip like they sometimes did in the normal game. And it was overall used in tournaments. And I know because I would go to my local store at the time. Well, not at the time, but they're still open. But I used to go to FX Game Exchange and play along with people there, and it was a lot of fun. But now it isn't proven that they got sent a cease and desist letter. But if you see right here, the game's first demo was released on February 7th, 2011, and development continued until December 1st, 2015, when PMDT announced that it would cease further development of Project M. So I think you could safely assume that they got some sort of cease and desist from Nintendo. Either that or they felt the game was completed, but that's just two examples of Nintendo taking down projects, whereas you see Sony or Microsoft, they don't really, or any other game publisher, they don't really care what you do with their IP. I mean, heck, it's even free marketing for them. Because then people see the IP, they're like, what game is that? They flock to the game, they buy it, and the company makes some money. But Nintendo, they say, has been stuck in the 90s and way back in the day. They have not advanced or modernized their their way of marketing, their way of thinking, and to some extent, I think you could say it's hurting them more than they think they are protecting themselves against. But sometimes I think about, you take away Nintendo's IP and Mario, Link, Donkey Kong, Pokemon, I guess you could say. Do you think Nintendo would be as popular as they still are? I mean, I guess they gotta treat all their IPs equally. But anyways, that's enough for this video. I hope you guys learned something. If you like it, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.